right, I want us to move into the reports. If you have your participant manuals, page 95, and the questions start on page 96. And then you need to pull up your Baringo County Implementation Report from quarter 2, which I emailed to you yesterday. And that one starts on page 1. So I want us to look at the first question. What is this question asking us about? One of the different ways of measuring performance that we talked about, right? Which is?
Comparison between 2 fiscal years, but within the
same quarter?
Yes.
2 different years. So that's the first question. Does it contain that information? Okay, answer it. Look at your tables. You can confer amongst yourselves. You are now looking at the Baringo County Implementation Report and answering the question, does it contain that information?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Molly says yes. What does it say?
Tries to compare 2014-15 and 2015-16, quarter 1 and quarter 2 in both.
So we have actual expenditure in the first 2 quarters for 2 years. And it is broken down by recurrent and development. Does everybody see that? Table 5. So this is our performance against budget. Okay, we don't have it for the previous year, but we have it for this year. In one sentence, what does the chart tell us about performance?
The county is performing well in terms of personnel and operations expenditure.
Yes.
While it is underperforming in development.
Okay.
Yes.
Relative to?
To the previous year.
To the previous year. Okay. So that is one measure of performance, right? This year to last year, but we haven't looked at other measures of performance. We might also be interested in knowing how we did in that particular quarter. And we might also be interested in knowing about revenue. Do you see any information about either of those 2 things?
Page 17, that is on the actual document.
17. What is this telling us? What is this table?
Comparisons of the actual revenues between the second quarter of 2014 and also second quarter of 2015, 2016.
Okay.
And there is a column for revenue sources.
These are still the major sources, including national transfer, etc., which we were looking at before. Okay?
There is table 11.
Table 11, page 18 has revenue per source. Now these are local revenue sources. So we have skipped ahead to what is question 4 in your manual. Is it possible to identify specific sources of revenue that are performing well or poorly, and why? So since we are there, what do you see?
There's a hospital revenue collection, yes, second quarter 2015 stroke 2016.
Yes.
It has done well compared to other sources. But in terms of percentage, percentage is 0.
Percentage increase is 0. It's probably slightly more than 0, but it is less than 1%. So where else would you look for high-performing?
Marigat.
Marigat?
It has a 200%.
That is negative. 200% decline. So those are areas that are performing well. And then we have seen that Marigat is not performing well. Is there any explanation of this table in the text?
One of them could be insecurity.
That could be one of the reasons.
Yeah, because Marigat is in Baringo South that faces recurrent cattle rustling.
Okay. Is there an explanation here?
There was an overall improvement in all the revenue sources except revenue from tourism, public health, plot rent, and Marigat agricultural mechanization system. But they're not giving any further deeper explanation why there was that change.
Yeah.
To me, I think the explanation they gave, the reason they gave, is somehow sufficient. Service delivery from other departments is affecting collection of revenue, like construction of service, and in some markets which has delayed, and traders are becoming adamant in paying of market fees. This has contributed to business people becoming resistant in paying of county dues.
Where are you?
Page 19.
Okay.
The table is giving us a decrease from the previous year of 709,000
Yes.
But the information on point number 56 is saying that there's a slight improvement in game park revenues.
So they have given us a justification for something which didn't happen. So I want you to work in your tables now on question 2 and 3, okay? So question 2 is asking about targets. We looked at performance between the 2 years. Now we are looking at performance against target in question 2. And question 3 is asking whether the targets seem to be realistic. Okay, so those 2 questions are related to our previous discussion about performance, yeah? Let's take about 15 minutes or so to try and see if we can answer that question 2 and question 3. Okay, I want to bring us back and hear what we have found. Let's start with question number 3 about targets. Did you find any?
The revenue collected during the quarter. So we are talking about 52 million. And so they are comparing to the last financial year, 2014-15.
So where's the target?
As you go ahead, it talks about against a target of 60 million.
Aha.
But they managed to collect 52 million.
So if we compare what we have found here to what we said before, this is quite limited in terms of the information, right? It is only local revenue target for 1 quarter. It is not giving us expenditure targets, and there's no breakdown of either revenue or expenditure against target. Let's move to the next question. Do the targets appear to be realistic?
The baseline was 45 million.
So we had 45 million in 14-15.
Yes. Then the target,
We had a target of how much?
60.
60 million. Good.
And the actual collected was 52.
Okay.
So the percentage change from when you compare the target and the previous year's collection is about 33% increase.
33%, yeah. Okay.
Going by the discussion we had, like 0 to 15% is realistic. It's more than double the realistic figure you are talking about.
So that's a pretty big increase, actually, right? 15 to 16% is like at the top of our normal range. So it's a pretty good increase, but it looks small because our target was much higher, right? Our target was more than double that, okay? But the more years you have, the more useful it is. When you only have 1 or 2 years, it can be very far off, right? We have data for 3 years, okay? We have the most recent year, and we have last year, which you can use as a base to say, what is the revenue growth? It's only 1 year, so it may be misleading, but at least it is giving us some information, okay? So we should not ignore that information. So if you look at the 13-14 information for second quarter, and you compare to 14-15, what is the revenue growth? So we have 1 year worth of data showing a 65% increase. Now when we look at that and we see that the target the following year was 33%, when they were setting the budget for 15-16, the best information they had about the past was 65%, okay? So you can see, so when you look at this information, you start to see the complexity, but you also you can start to understand a bit of the reasoning, why this might have happened. Of course, we are speculating, we don't know. So there should be something that shows that you have tried to make a reasonable calculation. But there's no strict guidance like 5 to 15%. That is just what I'm giving you for some logic, some common sense.